Hi guys, welcome to today's video. In today's video, we'll look into a scenario in which Napoleon somehow returns. And he doesn't care that Switzerland is neutral. Yes, who would? Yes, Switzerland, you're the first one to be demolished. Wait till he demolishes Germany. And while he's successful, somehow he manages to be successful in mountains. Well, they somehow managed to climb over it. I guess all of that Napoleon power really gave them a lot. With them annexing the French lands. That's a bit more than them, I think. And then he puppets as the rest. With Britain not liking this, but let's be honest, do they ever like anything? With them creating the Swiss puppet. Definitely no evil plans. With them going after Belgium, which leads Britain to decide to form a coalition against him. Yes, same old, same old. With Britain, Germany, and Italy, Austria cowards out. Remembering what happened last time. With Benelux, Germany, and Italy being part of this. With Portugal just being Portugal. And doing nothing. In Italy, yeah. You'd be shocked, but he doesn't play it nice. No, not even close. With him blitzing across Benelux. Quicker than the Nazis. Yes, quicker than the Nazis. They're going to advance. They're going to make Hitler look weak. Well, they move in and take Brussels, and then they move in, managing to encircle a big chunk of the army. He moves up rapidly, taking Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and The Hague very fast. And then takes out this pocket of resistance. With everybody being shocked. While in the meantime, the Italians do Italian stuff. And while they start pushing them back and acting like they're going to win. Little did they know Napoleon would show up here and be like, yeah, no, not your day. Them being like, oh, they failed to fully push us out, being all excited. Yeah, you might have not been listening to the strategy, but they move in here in the south, taking major areas, and they move in from their Swiss puppet in their land to make an encirclement. Yes, we're talking encirclements, even though I don't think that was a strategy. We're making stuff up now. But I can, because this isn't even real. Ooh. With them moving into Luxembourg in hours. And Benelux fully falls in just under a week and 6 days. And Germany being like, you can't get that bad. With them rushing as fast as they can to Munich. And they encircle Munich. And their plan is to destroy Germany. Yeah, last time they tried to build it, now they're destroying. And well, they move to the Rhine River. With the Germans and Italians being out, they've had their butts kicked enough. And while they're a bit upset that they lost, you can imagine, such sad. Well, for them. So let's see the peace treaty. And they don't like it. I mean, would you like the peace treaty? No. Basically built their nation to go to the Rhine River in the north to make a natural French borders along the Rhine. They created a Dutch puppet. They extended their Swiss puppet a bit, and they also extended a bit into Italy. They also created a Baden-Württemberg puppet. With them not planning to start anything now. They go to war with Spain. Yes, this is definitely very different. Yes, very imperialist. With a second coalition forming. Yeah. The United Kingdom goes back to war with them. Yeah, they didn't even take a break. Back to war as fast as they could. And Portugal joins this one. Yes, it's a very weak coalition. With them deciding to move rapidly across the north coast and in towards Barcelona and then down the coast in Catalonia. With them going in for the Battle of Barcelona. While in the north, they continue their front. They also take more land in the north to the border. And then they move across the coast, going a bit inland. With them starting to head south, then they finally take Barcelona and they take over these islands. And then moving forces up here just to help the front. And they start moving across the south. And then here they start moving into Portugal. With them starting a front here to move straight to Madrid, which happens really rapidly. They take Madrid. With the second coalition being a failure. With Spain and Portugal falling to surrender. Well, France takes these lands, with them creating a Galician state. Well, they also use this opportunity to annex Andorra, as they own all of Iberia. They now have less area for the British to use to mess with them, with the British getting upset. And of course, they go to war with Ireland. Who else would they go to war with? Because they need a victory. Or at least that's what their leadership says. And it becomes a costly victory. Moving into Dublin. And this is what they occupy so far. With the French sending some volunteers, which slows down the advance. And at the final, they move into Cork. And what's the city here? Never mind. There might not even be one there. And they annex it. Yes, France, you got an even bigger threat. With the British and the French not at war now. But they managed to get Germany, Austria, and Sweden to their side, with Denmark not joining, which irritates the Swedes. And Norway decides to join. What are they doing? Not much. And while their campaign is going very well so far, or wars, let's see how they do now. With them deciding to move in quickly to Dresden. Very quickly. And them moving in and taking the city, and they use this to move into Hamburg. They offered the Danes to join in exchange for some land. With Denmark joining, technically Greenland joins. But it almost immediately will fall. And while they're getting to a third coalition, and Denmark joined against it, with the German city of Kiel being the next to fall, as Denmark and France push in and take it. Then France, from its Baden puppet, moves in to take Nuremberg and Munich. And then they basically occupy this area, which they used to move down into Austria and move into Vienna. With this, they use it to do this. And the Swiss puppet moves in this way. This area falling under French control, with the Danes in the meanwhile invading Sweden. With Sweden being greatly weakened with the loss of this land. With Germany, with these two fronts connecting, Germany is in a bit of trouble as the forces start moving into Berlin. While Berlin falls. So they give up. And while Sweden gives up and Norway gives up. So let's see the peace treaty of the third coalition. with France. They decide not to end with Denmark because they're mad at Denmark. So they land in Greenland and take over the south, taking all of it. Place over, and with this, Greenland thus falls into British occupation. And well, this war is over. But another coalition forms. Norway, knowing how this will end, doesn't join. Sweden does, even though that's not very great of an idea. With Poland joining, yeah, Poland joins. Poland, Czechia, Hungary, Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia, and Italy. These are who joined this coalition. And while the French managed to get the Germans to join them, promising them lands from Poland. With these nations thus being effectively stopped in their tracks, Poland is. With Poland getting invaded by Germany and France. With France invading Italy. And while quickly they move into Venice. Expecting this, they had forces ready. Because they knew Italy would be back. What they didn't expect was all of these nations. With Denmark, with Sweden attempting to push into Denmark, but they fail. Because they've been greatly weakened from the first conflict. With French forces and Danish forces moving into Stockholm, taking over Stockholm in this island. With Sweden being unable to take back its lands, has to withdraw from the war. So we don't need to worry about that front. Now, as for Italy, yeah, they're not having much fun. As they get pushed all the way to Rome, this is where they decide to leave the war. And Czechia getting pushed back first out of Austria, Bavaria, and Saxony. And well, they move into Czechia, and they take Prague. After taking Prague, they move into the south of Poland to recreate a few places. With Poland getting pushed back to Warsaw, not wanting to become a French puppet, they decide to leave the war. Now for the easy part. With Bosnia saying, well, there's no point anymore. Same with Hungary. But Croatia and Slovenia don't really have that choice because they're already being invaded. And while they take over, Slovenia take their capital, then they move into Croatia and take Zagreb, and they quickly move along the coast and then the inland area. And let's see the peace treaty for this coalition. As you can see, a lot of stuff has changed, including Germany annexing Silesia and Russia. Then a puppet state for France is made in Poland. Denmark gains some land. A puppet in Sweden is formed. Austrian puppet gains a bit of land. And then Croatia split in two. One half France took the coast. The inland area became a puppet with Zagreb, the capital. Then we got the Italian puppet. It only lost quite a bit of land. And then there's a puppet made. There is also a Venetian state created. And then over in Czechia, it was split in three, even though that German state is pretty much non-existent at this point. So I guess it's going to become German or whatever. And then they made Bohemia, Moravia. Yes, they were definitely not getting a good treaty, and Poland lost a lot of land. Now, Germany, if they wanted to betray France, they couldn't because they're surrounded now. They're surrounded by these puppets, Netherlands and Hanover, then in the south by basically every puppet, and Denmark to the north. Yeah, they don't have any chance to do what they want. And well, that's all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. But don't forget to subscribe. And well, stay in tune for tomorrow's video or part 2.